Are you ready for the heavyweight championship of the world? Are you ready?
All right, and we're back. I am Bill, and I am ready to fight.
And my name's Barry, and I'm ready to fight.
All right, I want a good, clean fight. Let's get it on.
All right, welcome to And in This Corner, where we settle the score once and for all on who's the best. That includes best music, best shows, best movies, and best anything. So here are the rules. Each host, myself and Bill, we get 30 seconds to discuss who's the best on the topic that we're discussing. At the end of the round, Bill and I, we decide who won that round, and we keep it going until we run out of rounds. And whoever got the most points at the end wins. This week, Bill, what we talking about?
This week, we are talking about African-American sitcoms. All right, African-American sitcoms. That's what we're talking about this week. This topic, it holds dear to my heart, and I'm sure it does to Barry as well.
Yep. And then here's what happens if we don't agree. So it's easy. Excuse me. The audience splits the vote. A lot of what me and Bill are going to be talking about today is a matter of opinion. We grew up on these shows, but my mom always said if 5 or more people agree, that means it's a fact. So if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're watching that has a comment section, just add your 2 cents below and tell us who won each round and which top 10 list you agree with.
Yes, if you agree or don't. So again, we were talking about African-American sitcoms, everything from that you can think of, Fresh Prince to Blackish to whatever you feel or whatever is in the category of Black sitcoms. However, we do have a few that kind of sits inside, but on the outside realm of that. Barry, you want to give an example of 1 or 2 of them?
Yeah, and for me, I'm just basing it on the criteria of if there's I would say a majority Black leads, it falls into that category. And if you feel that it does and I don't, you just have to be able to defend your point. So some of this is subjective, but for the most part, it's the cast majority Black casts. Yeah. So you're going to see a lot of favorites from the 80s, some 70s, a lot of 90s. Yeah. So you're going to have some new entries for the millennium and forward. So let's go. So for the rounds that we're going to go through our top 10s. We're going to go from 10 to 1, Bill. Yep. And we'll keep it moving. Yep. And then where there's discrepancies, no worries. We'll talk about that after in a later round. So we're basically kind of start poking holes. So what we're going to do on who goes first, I do believe there's an advantage when it comes to this. We're going to decide heads or tails. Bill, I got a coin. I'll let you do the honors. Just call it in the air.
Heads in the bed.
Say it again.
Heads.
All right, making sure. And you got heads. I tried to make you change your pick. I'm like, you got this one. All right, so you want first?
I go first, man. I typically.
All right, that's what's up. Hey, I appreciate it. You're a better man than me.
I'll go first. All right, so I'm starting with number 10. My number 10, I'm going to start with the Jeffersons. The Jeffersons. Everybody knows about George Jefferson, Wheezy, Florence. I mean, the dance. That show probably would not be on air today because of some of the things that were that were said on the show. Lionel, and you got her friend, and he always called her zebra or honky, and it's so many slurs that he used. But man, it's a true story of rags to riches. But my number 10 is the Jeffersons.
And you got one of the best theme songs of all time for sitcoms across the board. So for me, I went with my wife and kids, and mainly as I got older, I appreciate the show a little bit more. It's one of those. It's just now coming on Hulu, so I get to binge watch it with my kids. But as I get older, my preference change because this is something I could actually share with my kids. So just for that edge, I know it may not be the biggest heavyweight in the matchups that we're talking about. But just because they kind of mirror me and my family, minus I got one more kid than he does, but and you got 2 individuals who know how to be in front of the camera. You got Damon Wayans from In Living Color. You got Tisha Campbell from Martin.
Martin.
And yeah, like, and then the kids came to play. Like, I feel like the son Junior from New York Undercover. Yeah, I never knew he was that funny, and he had like a little cold brownish element to him.
Yep.
So it's just it's gold and it's a sleeper, but I think it'll get more promotion while it's on Hulu, and a lot of people are going to enjoy it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. All right, that's a good choice. My wife and kids. Cole, Junior, Waldo.
Yeah,
I don't know which one is.
We leaving some people out, but yeah, definitely those are like some of the top.
I don't know which one is the worst.
Yep.
But okay, that's a good one. Number 9. I'm sliding one of my throwbacks. Good Times. JJ Evans. Dynamite. I've seen it on shirts. I've seen it. It's been stated in other shows as well.
Yep. It's one of the biggest catchphrases of sitcom history.
I think, I can think of maybe 3 total. Yeah, and that's one of the ones.
Yep, we got a couple one-liners coming up, but
they're coming.
Yeah,
that you got. It's so funny because you got the dad, you got the mom, you got the
heartthrob.
goofball dad. I mean, son, heartthrob.
One of the best.
Thelma. Neighbors. Thelma. Not Thelma. Winona.
Thelma and Winona. Yeah, Winona.
Yeah. And then you also have an appearance of. That's when we first see Janet Jackson on sitcom. So
and you have the militant son. Michael,
you got the militant son, Michael, which makes sense because you're in Chicago, Cabrini Green projects, and I mean, man, it was an awesome show. Little background on it. The dad, James Evans, he was written off the show because he said, "Look, I'm tired of this. My character. My character is working hard, but then you got my son. He's on as a goofball, shucking and jiving, and they just wrote him off. So a lot of family values on that show as well, though. So I want to go
for sure.
Number 9 for me is Good Times.
And for me, it's a push. I got number 9 as well, Good Times. It's just one of those shows where it's classic. And even though I probably don't watch it in syndication as much, like this was something that used to be on like rerun heavy back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then I was watching these shows like as a kid. So I grew up on Good Times. It don't get a lot of rerun love from me from now, but it's one of them shows I remember a lot of the episodes, the iconic episodes especially. And even though I may not watch this as much as some of the other ones, it's probably made the biggest impact. So it has to be in my top 10 in some shape or form. So everything that you said, plus my additions, I agree. It's number 9, Good Times. Another classic theme song.
And I was waiting for you to say it. If you wasn't going to say it, I was going to say it.
Yeah.
Hanging in the child line.
Yeah. I remember they had the little skit on Chappelle's Show. And I knew the theme song, and I'm like, I forgot what I used to say before that. I think I used to say, regardless. Regardless.
Hanging in the child line. I know that.
Same thing.
All right, yeah, and also Barry, it's not a catchphrase that she uses over time, but Florida Evans, everybody knows these 3 words: damn.
Yeah, classic. All right, so the list only get better from here. What you got in number 8?
Woo, man, it was getting tough. It was tough, but at 8, I have the Jamie Foxx Show, coming off of the In Living Color variety show. Man, we saw the talent. We knew the singing. We saw the talent, and put him in his own show. Now you bring in the granddad. So now he's from Martin. Stan.
Jared Morris.
Stan. You got.
And the funny thing about that was Jamie Foxx had a skit where he was actually because Garrett A. Morris, he would act like him, and then he would go on to co-star with him. It was like during the
Okay.
early years in Living Cutler where he would poke fun at him because he was on SNL and he didn't get a lot of shine. So I like the fact that they were able to kind of reunite and
Nice. Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
But go ahead, my bad.
You bring in Fancy and Braxton, Hartnebrig, and man, it's just it was a good, almost like a still throwback, but it's just a real feel good sitcom, a lot of laughter. He finally at the end got his girl, as how typically it is, but man, great sitcom. I wish it gets some love on Hulu as well or Netflix, hopefully.
I feel like a lot of people rock with it though for some reason. I think it actually grown in popularity. The ratings weren't that good at the time.
No, they weren't.
The fact that everybody, like a lot of people, even younger folks, kind of know about Jamie Foxx shows me that it's getting love somewhere. I don't know where they're watching it, but they're watching it.
Yeah.
BET used to show it a lot.
BET used to. TV One maybe. I don't know.
That might be it. It's getting love though.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. So my eighth sitcom would be Jamie Foxx.
My number 8, I went with the classic pick. I grew up on the show as well. Different Strokes. When you talk about some comedy gold and one-liners, and this is one of the biggest catchphrases of all time, which is "What you talking about, Willis?" It's been copied on almost a lot of movies, a lot of shows. But Arnold, I feel like prior to Steve Urkel, he was that kind of like Black actor who kind of transcended pop culture to where at the time he had like a record for sitcom actors getting paid. I think he was making like $400,000 an episode, which was unheard of at that time. So that was just like kind of crazy. But just the idea of similar to the Jeffersons, where it gave a lot of Black people from poverty to kind of see what it was like to have upscale living. 2 youths from the hood go off to live with Mr. Drummond, and then craziness ensues. I would say towards the back end, the seasons got a little weird and whack. Janet Jackson was on there too, as Willis's girlfriend. That's when she was looking right. But them early seasons, man, it's just like hitting. Like every episode was quality to me. So I went with Different Strokes. Grew up on it, loved it. Doesn't get a lot of love now because I don't know where to find the reruns, but great show.
Yeah, and I think I do have some on DVD. To be honest, I used to bought them. I won't say I bought them off the DVD man, but I got some on DVD. So
I'm gonna find a way to get my kids to watch that one as well.
Yeah.
So
now I do know they have them on. They do have digital, so they're there. You just gotta,
but it's different. Like I don't know. It's the exercise factor of having to push in something tangible, like into like a Blu-ray, as opposed to me clicking a button on Netflix or clicking a button for Hulu.
I got you.
That's the type of support that show needs.
Okay.
But enough about Different Strokes. What you got it? We moving on to 7?
7.
What you got at 7?
Number 7, oldie but goodie. What's happening? You know what's funny is growing up, I didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I found out about it. I was an adult when I started watching it.
I think when you started watching it is probably when I was watching it, because it used to come on daytime TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used to give Saved by the Bell reruns, and then it used to give What's Happening Now. I did watch What's Happening as a toddler. Like when my mom I was a latchkey kid, so my mom used to leave the kids home alone, and I never knew what was happening. I just remember the theme song, and at the end where they're dribbling the basketball.
Yep.
So I always watched it, and I just never understood what was happening. But I watched it as a kid, but I revisited it when it was getting a lot of daytime love. Like it used to play it on UPN.
Yeah.
And then so it was age-wise, it would have been around the same time. You were probably I was in
it's a little before. They were before.
Yeah.
Because
but
man.
And I like both. I like What's Happening Now.
Now.
Yeah.
I like it's again, like, it's funny because it was just a group of kids, group of guys, high school kids, just going through their daily lives. They're in California, and you know, you got the bratty little sister who her mouth is just reckless, but you can't do nothing to her. But then, you know, you got your hardworking mom.
You got the Raj and Shirley dynamic, which is basically Martin and Pam, where it's like who could rank on each other harder.
Yeah.
No, excuse me.
Rerun.
She used
rerun.
To, yeah, rerun. She used to rank on rerun. Yeah. That's Martin and Pam all day. That's where it came from.
Definitely.
So,
definitely
and then you
Martin
had D. D was getting on rerun as well. Like and Raj, like she always had the quick one-liners to like shut him up.
Yeah. D could be Pam as well. They just so like, ooh, like
I feel like D and Shirley you would see in different forms, like on different sitcoms. Like if you watch Everybody Hates Chris, that D is definitely Tasha. Tanya or Tasha, I forgot her name, but yeah. So no, I agree. A solid pick. I'm not mad at that. And that's your number 7, right?
Yep. Shout out to Mark. Shout out to Martin when he was on.
What's Happening Now? That's the reason I like What's Happening Now. And then Regina King's sister, big sister, was on What's Happening Now as well. Now for my number 7, I went with solid theme song as well. A lot of sitcom like theme songs back then had some
solid.
Now. Yeah, so keep your head up. What? Keep your head up. That's right. I had Living Single. Living Single is my number 7, and it's just one of them shows. They kind of veered off towards the back end when they started switching the cast around. But I'm talking about. I remember Pam coming from Cosby Show, and then when she was Maxine, she was always my favorite one. That's the thing. Like, even if you see the woman I would eventually marry, like she was the one that made me team dark skin all day. Like I had a big crush on her as a kid. And then just all of them. Like I just felt like it showed you. Growing up, I realized like, okay, you know, she owned the magazine thing, and it was how expensive it was to live in New York. Like, you know what I mean? Because it was all sharing. But it showed you how on point Max was. She had her own apartment. She just never bought groceries. It was hilarious. And for me to be a kid, this show, I could have easily grew up sexist, but this show kind of conditioned me on the way to think and respect women, because you just saw it from a woman's perspective, and they was on point. Every character was hard. Overton, Sinclair, Khadijah, Kyle, Clean, you know, and then Regine, hilarious. Regine versus Max. I'm missing one person. I think I might be, or maybe not. But I said Regine. I said Maxine.
Sinclair.
I think I said Sinclair after. But regardless, it just was great casting, great comedy, and it was just hilarious. Like if I were to ask you who's the funniest, you don't know, because Maxine had her moments, Regine had her moments, Sinclair had her moments, and Overton had their moments. It just, they all came to play.
Yeah. You know, it's funny.
Had some nice cameos too. Like this show I think this show probably comes in second, because there's another show on this countdown who just had the best musical cameos, but because of flavor, they would always find a way to put a guest appearance. Like I remember Grant Hill being on an episode, a lot of musical guests and stuff like that. It's just, who else? Yeah, just solid. And then a lot of people before they were big stars were on this. I remember Terrence Howard was dating Khadijah or Maxine.
Max.
Yeah, all right, Maxine.
Because he was young. And then, he was a kid.
And then,
he was a kid.
Yeah. 18 and then they got caught kissing in the elevator. They was all jocking Ricky from Boys in the Hood, which is Morris Chestnut when he moved upstairs. Come on, man, solid.
And they're the predecessor to Friends. I don't care. That's what Friends copied them.
No, I agree. And they also, if you don't have that show, I don't know if you have an Insecure. I think Insecure is heavily inspired by Living Single. So they not only were they did Friends mimic them, but a lot of Black sitcoms afterwards. I think and I think all right, so I think Insecure is probably in the middle of doing like an Easter egg for this. So far, they featured, I think they're trying to feature all of the cast members of in Living Single throughout the season. Regine was on there. She was, when they went to Mexico, she was like on the flight. Maxine was on there. She was on that fake sitcom that they had in one of the seasons. And then now they just need a Khadijah reference, and they need I think Sinclair was mentioned by name, but
Okay.
yeah. So I think they're trying to like pay homage to that show and tip the hat.
Okay.
But,
all right. Hey, that's a heavy hitter. That's a heavy hitter. Heavy
I'm
hitter.
proud of that pick.
I like it. I'm not mad at you. So we're gonna jump to number 6. So we're halfway there.
Yeah.
Again, I'm telling my age, Sanford and Son.
Mhm.
We're gonna just first start out with the sound.
The music.
Quincy Jones. Quincy
Yeah.
Jones, like, you know, in his
Bum, bum,
yeah, everybody like
yeah.
like a banjo, like everybody, everybody knows it.
Yeah, it went hard. It went hard.
Yeah, man. And
this was I can't remember if it was this or it may have been Jefferson's, but my auntie was the one who put me on sitcoms. And
Okay.
this is my earliest memories, because I want to give credit to Jefferson's as well, was either this or Jefferson's, to where I was being force fed content. And that's the reason why when Harlem Nights came out, I kind of knew. I'm like, oh, I know Red Fox from the show my auntie was watching, whatever.
Yeah.
Fake heart attacks and just like that.
Yep.
And that's, to me, that made me feel okay. Like, I grew up in a Black household where a lot of times when parents show love, they curse you out or they yell at you or they make you feel like he did with his son, Lamar. So it's like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, other people talk like this too. But that one's a classic. It doesn't get as much love now as it should.
Nope.
And
think about this, Barry.
The pen.
Yeah. Think about this.
That's Richard Pryor for the pen.
Here you go again.
Right.
You got Fred against Unesco. These shows have a protagonist, but in a comical way. So they're both going at each other. You no good sucker, and she come and hit him with the
they were snapping. That's what would eventually become your mama jokes. It's like that. So yeah, like I guess it happens all the time. Like it happened there, it happened with Jefferson's, and it happened with what's happening. So it's like, I don't know if you have a good sitcom unless that dynamic exists.
Yeah. And you got a old son living with his dad in a junkyard, and the son eventually he tries to venture out, but he always makes his way home. This show here though, it couldn't make it in today's climate.
A lot of them couldn't.
Man,
a lot of them couldn't.
He
was creative with his synonyms too. Like he got a lot of but also that I think that's credit to like Richard Pryor, like being behind the pen for this show, to where he got extremely creative on how to get past the censors with like using different synonyms. But we knew what they was talking about. Like this shows the topics they talked about when it came to sex, when it came to racism, were extremely risky at the time. And then I'm like,
because they always that stuff. Fred always. Are you sure he ain't like, but everybody knew it.
Nah, it's classic. I'm not mad at this.
It's a classic, man. It's a classic.
Yeah, so just to kind of foreshadow a bit, this didn't make it into my top 10. But if I'm like picking it, like if it could have scratched and clawed to get to my number 10.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and especially like I always wanted to drink Ripple because he always had Ripple. Then he had that. That whole door. It's classic, man. It's classic. But go ahead, man. Jump to your number 6.
All right, so my number 6 is Family Matters. I think this show did a good job of just being. If you were an adult, it's basically the same thing that people would tune in for Full House for. I wasn't big on Full House because I didn't like the way they disciplined the kids. Sometimes I'm like, they will never get in trouble. But if you're an adult, you like this show because you can relate to Rachel, Carl, and Harriet. If you're a kid, you're a dude, you're going through some of the same issues Eddie's going through. And if you're a girl, you're definitely you aspire to be Laura, whatever. As a father, you always want a daughter like Laura, who's just a good girl. And then everybody in America had that one neighbor they just couldn't stand. And I'm just like, the obnoxiousness for kids would tune in for Steve. And then it was just something about all of the, there's something for everybody in the show. First season, I don't get down with.
The first season wasn't.
They started finding that sweet spot between season 2 and I forgot when, but up until when they went to like Paris, I was rocking with them. After that, it kind of like fell off for me.
Yeah.
But because those middle seasons are just so strong, I'm like, wow, this is some of the best sitcom TV I've seen.
Absolutely.
It's just like it's really close to making my top 5. Like,
and for me,
I got one more thing to say after you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say for me, it's funny how Steve was only supposed to be a little piece of one episode, and they said the college guys came the next day. The next episode is clapping and dressed up as Steve Urkel. It's like, whoa, we got to bring this kid back on because.
And you could see it in season 1, like they were struggling before him entering in. Like it's just like some of these episodes not really strong, and Carl was supposed to be the comedic backbone. He just wasn't funny enough. And then when they start focusing on that Steve, the kids basically, I love it.
Yeah.
Now, best musical guest list ever. Like when they had, from sitcoms, they got Johnny Gill, right? Johnny Gill makes an appearance, and then you got singing "There You Go" at their dance. You have Portrait. Here we
you got
go.
Portrait.
You had Immature. They found
Tracy
Tracy Spencer. Yes.
I got it. I got one over that, but we'll wait till you get there.
But it's every episode they found a way to like squeeze a musical guest in or whatever. You plan, even if the musical guest wasn't there, they found a way to like incorporate, like This Is For the Cool, the Babyface joint when Stephon Arkell.
Yep.
I love the musical selection for the show. I don't think it gets better than that.
And I think I may have a little reasoning behind that, because if you think about it, that the people who they played would have been the songs that Eddie, like that era, that group, that age group would have been listening to. So hey, why not bring?
Because even remember, they had the Bobby Brown joint. They showed the music video for Every Little Step when Steve was trying to learn how to dance in season 2 or season 1, and then years later, Johnny Gill, they traded baseball cards, and then when the New Edition Home Again tour came, they incorporated that into the episode. So they grew up with New Edition. I remember Shy being in Laura's Dream, and so yes, they like. Once again, it was music that Eddie and Laura would listen to. And then some of the side acts, like I remember Maxine, you got Maxine, but then you also have Myra, Cosby Show. So it was just like, I'm like, oh, they on point. Waldo, Weasel, they had some great side characters.
Lorenz Tate.
Yep. What you talking about, Willie? Like
Willie. Willie. Yep.
So
Willie.
It was solid, man. And they have a nice little guest list too, like people who would go on to become big stars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them started off this off this show.
And it's funny because it's a spinoff of Perfect Strangers, and
it's bigger than Perfect Strangers.
It's
way bigger than Perfect Strangers. I used to watch Perfect Strangers, and I don't remember that show.
I used to watch it as well.
You told me that, and I wanted to fact check you, but I went and looked it up. I was like, "This is not no Perfect Strangers," and then I was like, "It is," and I said, "I forgot." Like, but
she was the elevator person, and then I
would only give Theo. Maybe Theo had as a teenager, or even as a kid, because I was mainly a kid when I was watching this. I think when I was in the 4th grade, they were still probably doing new episodes. But you would always look at the women Eddie dated, and I would say only probably Malcolm Jamal Warner and Cosby Show rivaled him. He had some of the prettiest girlfriends in sitcom history. Yeah, but go ahead. You had something to say.
No, that was it. That was the Perfect Strangers. All right, Bear. It's nothing I can talk about with Family Matters. My number 5, I got Fresh Prince. Again, another theme song.
It's the best. It's the most popular. It's the best. It's the karaoke champion. And then you got the most charismatic character in TV history. It's Will Smith.
Yeah.
He's just
Standalone.
likable, man.
Yeah.
He's likable. He carried that show. I'm over here making points for you, but it's
no, I mean
that
it's fine.
Him and Carlton carried that show.
I mean, at this point, I'm looking at the list. We might as well both speak on it.
We're gonna agree on. Yeah, we're gonna agree on a lot of stuff, but I'll let you say some points and I'll kind of.
So Fresh Prince, you got growing up in my neighborhood and blah blah blah, and you're moving with your uncle and aunt in Bel Air, and he at the time he was a lawyer, but he lived in a mansion in Bel Air.
It made no sense to me. He was taking some bribes.
I'm trying. I'm like, wait, well,
some of it could be all right. So just spoiler alert. What Bill's saying is we both have this at number 5, so we're going to talk about it evenly. Yeah. Now he was in Bel Air to where he probably had high-end clients because they were he was a partner at Firth Winnemeyer or something. And then maybe if you remember the Dream Team, like Johnny Cochran and those guys, the Kardashian lawyer, they were like millionaires off of like a couple clients. So maybe that's what he was doing. But I was like, as I got older, the mansion thing didn't make no sense to me. And it was just like,
big one, like huge mansion. But it was, going into a high school and he tried to buck the system and, he's wearing his J's and, he flipped his coat inside out. So it was just man.
Rafael De La Ghetto, he would always find a way to like. But the one thing I liked about it though, I never noticed they were. I never noticed Kettins to the left of them, Kettins to the right of them. But that's Jeffrey's favorite episode. He said it on the reunion. But the cool thing about this show was I never noticed it at the time that they were like going against the trope. Because it's a fish out of water, and typically fishes out of water always have to conform. Like, hey, man, you're in Bel Air now. You have to change. But the thing I liked, that's why Carlton didn't like him so much because he would always do it his way, and he would be likable for it. Like when he talked to the Princeton recruiter and he solved the Rubik's Cube, it was like, hey, we want you. I love it, and I feel like this is one of those few shows where the earlier seasons are more dominant than the later seasons because when they switch the cast around light skin on Bill, and then they started focusing on little Nicky a little bit more. When I watch it nowadays, I didn't notice at the time. I was like, oh, the last 2 seasons are kind of weak, and it's up to Will and Carlton to carry that show, and they do. But
I mean, some good guests as well though. You got D.L. Hughley, you got Nia Long and
War Machine, Pam Grier. So you said Foxy Brown was on an episode. What's War Machine? Don Cheadle. You have we could keep going, but
man,
they had some nice
classic.
You said Vivica A. Fox, so Vanessa Williams. My bad. I'm tripping. Then it was out of the best looking women. It was Fresh Prince. Then it was Eddie, and then it was like Theo. Like Eddie, Fresh Prince had some beautiful
because you got to think he had Gina.
Yep. Tisha Campbell.
Tisha Campbell. Vivica Fox. Nia Long. That's my
Tootie,
all-time.
Regine. Yep.
Yeah.
He had the best resume on that.
Even Queen Latifah. You remember?
Yeah. She played 2 different characters. Yep. She played Hillary's boss, and then she also played Will's classmate.
Go to the dance together.
Yeah. So and then both of them became like heavyweight giants in the acting game. Man. But for him to not have any experience in acting, Quincy Jones saw something like he just charismatic. Like when you watch the first episodes, yes, he's mouthing some of the lines, but he knows how to act. Like you can see like, wow, this.
If you go back to the parents just don't understand video, that's him. That's Will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's Will.
background and everything. I agree, but
that is
still
weird.
the fact that Quincy Jones was able to kind of see that you could carry a whole sitcom behind him was amazing to me. Like, I wouldn't have known from that video that this guy could have one of the best sitcoms of all time. Man. And then, as much as I try, it was at one point where I was like, I'm not. Sometimes I need to take a break from Fresh Prince. It's one of them things like I'll watch it from beginning to end, and I'll take like a 2 or 3 year hiatus, and then when you come back, you're like, oh, all these episodes go hard. And I'm not gonna lie, it's one of them shows if I want to, I could watch it almost religiously, like some of the other shows on my list, and not get sick of them. To me, there's only it's really only 2 or 1 episode where I'm like, this is not a good episode. It's like the episode where it focused on Jeffrey, a girl from England had to come and Will had to keep her out of trouble. To me, that's the worst episode. Outside of that, everything else is like money.
Yeah. I think every I mean, because it is hard when you're having a amount of years and you have a certain amount of episodes. There are going to be 1 or 2 every season that you kind of like, I can see. I don't ever have to watch this one.
Yeah, and that's a good ratio. And then the other thing is, this show typically the magic number you want to get to is 200 episodes for sitcom gold. Like because if you could sell it in syndication, you could sell a network like we. Yep. Yeah, we have 200 episodes. That means you could have X amount of weeks before you have to run into reruns. This show doesn't have 200 episodes. I think it has 188 or little north of 150.
5 seasons.
Yeah, but they don't have. So that the fact that they treat this like a show that has 200 episodes to where it's been on almost every network. It's been on NBC showed reruns. You got reruns from UPN at one point. I remember back in the day, Fox used to show reruns to where and Hulu has reruns, HBO Max has reruns. Everybody and their mama drool over these syndication episodes because they know you're gonna get ratings if you show all episodes of Fresh Prince.
And also, we literally grew up with these characters. Like I grew up with Theo. I grew up with Will.
Yeah, grew up with Carlton. Grew up with Ashley. Ashley. I saw Ashley from a girl to a woman. That was pretty amazing to me. You know, sometimes they would cheat. Like Little Nicky grew 5 years in one summer when everybody else stayed the same age.
Absolutely.
Always confused.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And this show is the best at breaking the fourth wall. Like Zach Morris used to do it too, but Will did it better than anybody else.
Always looked in the camera, eyebrows, or But yeah, I mean, what more can we say? I'm going to go ahead and hit my number 4, which I don't really have to talk about it because we already talked about it already. My number 4 is Family Matters.
Family Matters.
My 4 and 5 can flip depending on the day. But I just kind of wrote it down and I looked at it as a whole.
What's your do you know your favorite episode
from Family Matters? Oh man. No, not
for me. It's that Dr. Urkel, Mr. Cool, man. When Stefan came out the first time with that white and black, that's my favorite episode.
Yeah,
but then you also got the new edition episode, the Home Again, where Bobby and the whole group together. It's I
like the Tracy Spencer episode.
Yeah,
because again, we talking about one of the biggest songs. You know,
and then Eddie got a chance to showcase his singing. But for me, it's the Stefan Urkel. After that, it's like I remember when Eddie got. It's a lot of episodes, but because Eddie getting beat up by the Dragons was pretty iconic.
When he got pulled over, it's like, how does that bad stick to slime?
Yeah, slime. Classic.
Like you guys couldn't come up with a better No,
but I felt it. Carl delivered that.
Yeah, you're right, but
my dad. It was a corny line.
It was very corny,
but Carl made it work. As a kid, I was like, even as a kid, I was like, they're not gonna give him no type of comeuppance because the dude, all he gonna do is fill out a report, a police report. Whatever.
And I'm a lieutenant. I'm a lieutenant. Like, bro, no, we're not doing this. Yeah. But they had some pretty good ones. Like there were some transformations I didn't like the Bruce Lee transformation. I didn't like.
I didn't like the second one. I didn't like the second one. I like the first one. I didn't like the Einstein one. Yeah, I didn't like the Elvis. Yeah, but that's when the show was done. So it was a wrap. Like I was
Yeah.
watching episodes at that time, but I'm like, oh, these episodes are not good.
And then
Like,
Laura finally decided she was in love with him, and like,
yeah, and after
that time
she
it
done
was
made
done.
it was a wrap. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a lot of TGIF shows struggled at that time. It was just
Yeah.
bad. That's when Disney had bought them, and they weren't promoting all the shows the
Mhm.
same. And yeah, and then
Mhm.
the accidents just got too big. It used to get on my nerves. But you have it at a high spot. So do I.
Yeah.
I have it right
Yeah.
behind you. I because of when it was hitting its stride though, it was history in the making. Like they have some of the best episodes of all time when they're hitting their stride.
You know,
So
also
now that-
Barry, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
just one quick
Go
line.
ahead.
We saw the implementation of it from beginning to end.
Mhm.
So that made
Yep.
that made
watching something start, watching something finish is like all right. So this is my number. What am I at?
We have four.
Okay, my number 4 is. I feel like this, bruh. I be telling people about this show. It's Everybody Hates Chris. Everybody Hates Chris is one of the youngest shows on my countdown. It might be the youngest.
It is.
My Wife and Kids, I don't know how it falls in. I don't know how it falls in with My Wife and Kids, though. That's what part I'm confused about. But I think it's younger than My Wife and Kids. It's one of the best. Like this show is one of the things that I saw the pilot and I was like, oh, this show's great. But I was working at the time. I was working like crazy hours as a teenager. And I'm like, I just can't find the time. And I didn't have TiVo back then. So it was like, I said, I know this show's great. I'm just going to catch the reruns when they come. And I would catch episodes when I could, but then CW canceled it. And then when it started showing up on BET and stuff, I just started watching it like religiously. And I'm like, I said, this show is probably one of the best sitcoms of all time. Like Pam, Tashina Arnold, she's hilarious. Terry Crews, hilarious in that show. The Chris voiceovers and the kid who plays Chris, having a little brother cooler than you is weird and it's hilarious. Having a sister Tasha who just could boss you around and snitches on you. Like, I'm like, that's my little sister. So if you grew up in the hood, you're going to be able to relate. If you didn't grow up in the hood, this show is going to be comical to you anyway. So I always tell people this is something they probably need to watch from beginning to end if they haven't already, but it's solid, bro. Like this showed me that Tashina Arnold is like the same way I look at Gina, which is Tisha Campbell or whatever. You put them in front of a camera, they're gonna make you laugh. Like she probably stole the show for me, like her as the mom and the dad being so cheap. Cause I had my mom was like that. I'm like, come on, man, you wasted that's 35 cents worth of electricity. Turn that bulb off and all that stuff. So I'm like, nah, man, this show's classic. It's my number 4. I have it high. If anybody willing to challenge me on that, I'll be able to defend it to my death. Like this show is money.
Yeah. Hey, Everybody Hates Chris. And I like how it was set in a certain time period as well.
Yep. And fun fact, the person that's singing Everybody Hates Chris is Tashina Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people ain't know that, but go ahead.
All right. Top 3. I think our listeners and viewers and whoever, you probably can figure out what these 3 is. I think these 3, Barry.
And can we agree on the top 3? So when you bring up yours, I'm just going to chime in and talk about them. Like our top 3s are identical.
Yeah. And I think that we've discussed all of these shows from top to bottom, inside out. And for me, it depends on the day. Mine can kind of flip around a little.
Yeah. So for me, my number 1 isn't going anywhere. My number 2 isn't going anywhere. My number 3 are pretty much set in stone. They like maybe 1 and 2 could probably flip, but it got to be a special day. But what you got at number 3? Without
number 3. Number 3, I got Different World.
Different World. Man. This show,
season 1. You just throw that out the door. Throw it out the door.
But out of respect, every time I binge watch the series, I force myself to sit through season 1.
So season 1, everybody knows, or hopefully you know, this was supposed to be Lisa Bonet's show. This was supposed to be, Bill Cosby wrote it. It was supposed to be for her. However, she got pregnant in real life. and he felt that, you know, Bill Cosby is a
he didn't want to
stickler.
tackle
teenage
teenage pregnancies.
teenage pregnancy,
He
single
always
parent.
went against he always went against stereotypes.
Yeah, see, he didn't want that stereotype, so she was written off the show. And what they did, from what I read, they focused the show on Dwayne and Whitley. So
And whose idea was that? Was that Debbie Allen's?
yeah.
How did she know that was going to be so impactful? Because when you look at season 1, I know, because hindsight's 2020, but at the time I wouldn't know that Dwayne and Whitley would have been able to carry the series like that. And they did
and I think what they did, they did some character rearranging. So they took out I can't remember the girl's name. She was the lone white.
Yeah, she that's
Millie.
Yeah, that's Peter Parker's auntie on Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei, man.
Yeah. I was trying to remember her character name, but she was written out.
They made Ron Johnson cool.
They made Ron Johnson like the
cool
playboy and the shyster and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in Kim. They brought in Freddie. So the characters that they brought in and developed, it worked wonders.
But even then, I don't think they knew that Whitley and Dwayne were going to be a couple right away, because
Probably
it's not. Because even with Dwayne still is going, he's going up to leaving Virginia to go to New York to go visit Whitley, Denise, and then that episode, that's what I'm saying. It's not till after season 3 I think they realized we could make them a couple. Like they could.
Well, they explored it. They explored it.
But
I'm gonna tell you, they explored it on the very last episode of season 2. Yeah, because that's when they had Ron and Dwayne moved into the apartment. Yeah, the Grenade. Yeah, the pit, and then they went outside on the terrace. Yeah, and then they kind of were talking. Then they had like a little moment where they kind of were like looking at each other. Yeah, and then they were like, "Nah." And I think at that moment
they were like, "Oh." The audience wants
ding, 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 ding,
ding. Yeah.
And they
because I be watching it like waiting for the signs. Like how do they not know that they're gonna end up together? And then I'm like, man, to me that's my favorite couple. I like for me it's always been them, and then another couple we'll see on our count now. But it's always when I this show was so impactful to me. I always knew I wanted to be in a fraternity. This is one of the shows that kind of like propelled that. Knew I was going to college. Knew the type of people I wanted to be around while I was in college. Even my life kind of mirrored Dwayne Wayne's in the fact that interning for a Fortune 500 company, getting a job with that Fortune 500 company, getting married right after, having to go through that lifestyle right after like college, and then being able to kind of move up in corporate America. And I'm like, yeah, and I felt like I married me my own Whitley Gilbert, you know what I mean? Like to where she started off one way, and then you know what, she done softened up over the years or whatever. So this show right here, I always tell people, they're like, why do you like the show? It's not the funniest. I'm like, it's not. It's just really relatable, and it's extreme.
Anytime you can relate an environment to something that you want or you are experiencing. Yeah, that's when it's real. So I kind of think about the first Kanye West album, College Dropout. Yeah, or his whole college series. Yeah, I can relate because I went to college. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I knew that I wanted to go to college. So the whole different world, and I'm like, man, it's an HBCU, and I got to pledge. World was the second reason why I want to pledge. The first reason was because of school days.
Yeah, to me, I liked, that's the thing. I liked, I was watching Different World first, but then I saw School Days and I was like, oh, it kind of affirmed it. Like, oh, I'm going to do that. Like, and then you also had a lot of Greeks around you, like growing up. But I was a kindergarten. Yeah, the proud, the few, them in the Kappa Lambda Nu, the proud, the few, them in the Kappa Lambda Nu. So I was young. I was younger than you. I was a kindergartner to a second grader watching this show. And it was like, it's not, you said you always knew you wanted to go to college. This show made me want to go to college. Like I never even knew college was a thing until I saw this episode. And then they educated you on stuff that was happening outside. I found out about the the LA riots.
LA riots.
For Rodney King from this show. I wasn't watching the news. I was just like, oh, after Rodney King, then that's the verdict. Go ahead.
In how you mentioned School Days, which three characters came off of School Days, Barry?
You had
let's educate our
so you people. You had Ron Johnson, which is I forgot what they call him, Dr. X-Ray Vision, I think.
X-Ray Vision. Yep.
You had Whitley Gilbert, who was basically the other one that Big Brother Almighty ended up like
the gamma rays.
And then you had Jerry Curl's trying to pop. Jerry Curl's trying to pop. You had Dwayne Wayne with the New York Knicks and the Air Jordans too.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. Like,
yeah,
for sure. And then I wouldn't be surprised if you dig through the archives. You could find some probably guest stars. There's probably guest stars that were on Different World. Yeah.
Well, remember, again, here we go. Let's bring her back up. You got Gina.
Gina. She was the one. I'm a voice in this world, and I deserve to be heard. Yeah. The Whoopi Goldberg cameo or whatever.
You had
Come
that.
on, man.
That's remember our one dude who he played like 8 different characters on that episode. This one guy.
Yeah.
He was the fire marshal. He played.
He was he was an alpha, but he was also part of Capilano New. He was Spencer, which was proposed to, he was the foot doctor in the Ron's group. Yeah.
Bro, can y'all at least try to change? Like
he had to be part of like the production team or something for them to give him that much stuff. Then you had what's your favorite episode? We'll say our favorite. I can't pick one.
I can't pick one.
The wedding episode goes hard.
I mean, that's the second part of the wedding. Yes. It's 2 parts. So the second part, that's probably my favorite one.
And then you have the Piccolo episode. You have the South Carolina episode where they get robbed. They got robbed. Walter, where'd you learn that from? Star Trek. You had, it's a couple. You had the and like a sucker, you walk around, and like a sucker, you're going down.
MC,
was it No Good or
No Good? It's something good.
Yeah,
we have talked about this so much. How can we not remember this?
Yeah, stuff? And then 911 emergency, reconnect the
community. Yeah, that one.
And then they had a beautiful cast. Like I would say, as I get older, I start appreciating characters more. Like Whitley Gilbert was always bad, but then you also had Kim Reese because of her teeth. But then you had Freddie. Freddie. Like. To this day, she looked the same. Like Freddie, I'm not gonna lie, Freddie is bad. I loved her and Ron Johnson's couple. Then you have Jada Pinkett, bad. And then now I'm like, bro, my wife resembles Charmaine heavily to where I'm like, Charmaine was bad. And I never noticed that as a kid. I had to go back and look, and I'm like, oh, you had Gina, Thunder Thighs. Like, when Piccolo and them came and it was like, oh, Thunder Thighs.
Yeah.
But nah, man. A lot of classic episodes, a beautiful cast. Happy birthday, happy 4th of July. I hope you like your happy birthday bean pie. Like
the
Boys to Men theme song.
Was from Mice to Men?
Yeah, you had Mice to Men, which was the Boys.
Was the Boys,
and it's
Crisscross.
So they had a lot of cameos too. Now that you bring it up, they had and they had Lena
In Vogue.
Yep. Free Your Mind. I'm trying to think of who else. They had some more. You already brought up Crisscross. Come sit down, Garbage Man. A fly with no lids. I just remember that episode being iconic. Yeah, solid.
It's so when Ron was playing and Dwayne.
The N word on the car. Was one of the best episodes
because that was your boy who played Superman.
Yeah, Dean Clark. No, Clark Kent. It's Dean something, but yeah, he played Superman or whatever.
I want to say Dean Martin, whatever name.
I wanted to say that, but I'm like, is it?
No, Dean Martin is the old guy.
Okay, all right, it's Dean something, but another thing, they educated you on so much political topics like affirmative action. Freddie quit. I was like, what's she quitting for? Freddie, you don't ever want to work. And then as I got older, I'm like, oh, sexual harassment. Apartheid. You also had this racism and when it comes to retail, Whitney trying to go to that jewelry store and buy all the stuff. And then poor Byron, man, leaving him at the altar like that. I got to get paid. Like it's little quotes like that. Like
which was your boy
from Mad TV, Drumline.
Yeah, Drumline.
Yeah. So nah, man, love it. You had Immature guest starring in Whitney's class. So yeah, man, we could do this all day.
That's man.
To me,
this
the fly. It's the flyest cast. Like I feel like they had so much cool side characters.
When they turned Ron when they switched him over, they kind of took Dwayne away from like this nerdy chase women, but he kind of turned.
They switched Dwayne too because Dwayne was remember Colonel
Taylor.
Yeah, Colonel Taylor's son. That was Dwayne.
Terrence.
Dwayne was a nerdy type, but then when they made Ron cooler, let us not forget they made Dwayne cooler as well.
They did.
That's why when I watch, I'm like, oh, he's not a nerd. He's just smart. Like he's just smart, but he does get girls. He does wear J's. He's a cool guy. So I like what they did with him.
I love what they did with him. Yeah. So that was our number 3. Number 2, guys. Again, it's Martin. Like
it is
Martin. It's Martin, man.
Some people will have
number
this
1.
And I understand that. Like just because this show gets force fed a lot to because you can find reruns of this everywhere. Now when I ask people what's the best episode, I always tell them it's a fact. I don't know if it's debatable, but the best episode is the I'm not paying the 5. I'm not paying the 5. To me, that's the best episode, Bill. It's the best. It's everybody has a funny moment in that episode. Let me see you whistle, Gina.
You got Chilligan's Island.
Oh, Chilligan's Island. Yeah, it is tough when it's just like Pam and Martin.
And they beating up that damn puppy.
That ain't no damn puppy.
But, he won it off of the box.
And this, you also have Varnell Hill. So it's
oh my god,
yeah. And I feel like this show has the best instances of people breaking character.
Oh my god, yes,
keeping it going. Like the Varnell episode. Catfish
is yummy. He's like, you just have to let it go, though.
Yeah, even when Varnell comes in and he's like, who could take this talk show? Yeah. Sprinkle it with laughs. And do the Cabbage Patch. If you look at Martin's like laughing in the background the whole time. And then when Luis, he played the Mr. Fix-It at Gina's Hotel with Bob for marketing. Yep. And then when Martin kicking him and Luis he laughing the whole time. He's like, and they were too tired to yell cut, so they was like, just let it ride and keep it in.
And I think didn't Tommy Davidson say they kind of let them just go?
Yeah, like
with that little when they was in the radio station.
Yeah, because like Martin, I think Martin made an agreement with the producer, like, look, if I laugh, don't yell cut. Just I'm gonna turn away from the camera. And they thought they would be able to hide it in post, but they weren't. You couldn't hide it because the other angle is still showing Martin laughing like
he just had to turn. It was so funny because
you could tell it's a freestyle because he was like Martin basically freestyled and it was not on the script and he's like, thought I didn't when I did, when he's like, I got you there, didn't I? He's like, thought I didn't when I did. And then Martin thought he had one. And
he's like
oh, catfish is delicious. Like it is like it threw him off. But that show has a lot of
no.
Yeah.
No. You got a 5 mile.
We got me. I don't got a
name Lake Barnell. This is yummy. And then when he said it, because how Barnell looked when he actually said catfish is yummy.
He said catfish is delicious. He said
delicious?
Catfish is delicious.
Okay, delicious.
And
he was like, if you look at Martin, he was about to say something. That's why he turned because he was like he could
Varnell was trying to let him finish his statement, but he was like, "You take it too long." And then another one where Martin Brick's character is when he when it's the episode I'm talking about. I'm not paying the 5. When Hustle Man's selling seagulls, right, on the seagulls on a stick. He said, "No, that's passe. You got to use molasses." And they all laughing. Martin just like. like the whole time, and the camera's right on him. I'm like, even as a kid, I'm like, y'all really gonna let this ride? Okay, that's what y'all doing.
Oh man, you tripping? Well, I can't say you tripping. The New Jack City episode.
Oh, that's one of the funniest scenes.
Oh my god!
And then you got
the first Brumman, like
Tommy breaks character a lot on that scene. Iconic because at the time I had saw New Jack Swing already. New Jack City. And I'm like, are they copying that for New Jack City? Like, wait a minute. He's like, hey, sit, stay. And I'm just like, the dog fell. That originally it was supposed to be real dogs, right?
Okay.
But because of short notice, they couldn't get the live studio audience to cooperate with training dogs. So Martin just said, hey, we're just going to use a stuffed animal. And everybody's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Everybody's going to know it's fake. It worked perfectly. Yes. I heard Pam telling the story online. And I was like, I couldn't picture this scene with a real dog. Like, so.
Yeah, no.
When we talk
But think about even like the episode that you and I love. You got to float. And you and your leopard skin.
No, it with the Speedos. And then Tanya Nicole, I love you, Mo. And whenever you pass, I want to snack that. Oh,
Brenham spoons. We can go on for a day.
It be little lines like that. Like I said, it may not be the episode as a whole, but it's like, it's so many iconic moments. Like Gina getting her head stuck in the bed.
Yo.
I remember Calvin Kanai. Gentlemen prefer Calvin Kanai. Gentlemen do. It's like, yeah, that's whack. Like whatever. But that show. What about we left off one of the biggest ones is Mad Dogs Are Coming. I say Mad Dogs Are Coming.
Mad Dog. Yep, you got that. The one where Martin threw everybody off the set, as far as when he was putting on the
you talking about push. You got to push. And another thing I like is he always paid homage to like sitcoms. Like he had Different Strokes. No, he had Tom Arnold from Different Strokes. He had Raj. He had Raj.
He was the
as
Prince
Uchi.
Yep.
He had Shirley as the one that was the wife of Big Red. He had Rerun.
Rerun. Rerun. He was on the Varnell Hill. He was in the
audience. All right. He had Rerun. I'm thinking he had his best friend on What's Happening Now. He played a drunk co-worker of Cole when Cole was having a party at his crib, and then a drunk person came out, and that was he basically had all of What's Happening Now cast on the show or whatever. But now he always showed love to like different sitcoms. Will Smith had a cameo for his birthday episode. At my house, we always, for everybody's birthday, we always sing the Stevie Wonder version, or we sing the Martin version, which is Happy Birthday to You. Happy birthday. Yeah. So classic number 2. It deserves to be there. If some people have it at number 1, I'm not mad at you.
I'm not mad at you. And with that being said, Barry, number 1, hands down for me,
Cosby Show.
Yeah,
it's for me. It's a mix of comedy, but it's a mix of education. It's a mix of just familiarity. It showed me a different way of thinking, because I remember watching these episodes sometime because of my age, I was watching some of these episodes when they were new, right? So, and I was a little kid, but it showed me. I grew up in a house with a single parent, so I always thought households were like mine, because when I watch Good Times, and I'm like, oh, they talk just like my parents. So to see this kind of counterculture, it taught me a lot. Like the way he would raise Theo a different way. I'm like, and as I got older, I'm like, when I have a kid, I'm going to raise my kids like that. And I remember being nervous when I first became a father. And then the only guides I had was the Bible and Cosby Show. So it taught me a lot about listening, about my communication, and just like the little stuff, like your parents ain't going to kill you at the end of the day. My parents probably would have killed me, but it's the idea of Vanessa came home drunk and she didn't get killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Theo threw the party, broke the table, had like over $1,000 worth of damages, and his parents ain't kill him. So I was like, okay, it's not the end of the world with these guys. And then Denise not wanting to go to college, and then them kind of embracing her or whatever. Like, okay, You just got to tell me what you want to do. And then she ended up going anyway. But yeah, like you said, the Wretched, it's so funny because Wretched to me, so basically Vanessa sneaks out to go see a rock group, the Wretched. And to me, that wasn't a big episode when I was a kid. And because of the memes, it's become one of the most popular episodes. And like for me as a kid, it wasn't the most popular one, but now it's the most iconic because of the memes that come out. Like every time a mom about to get mad or somebody posts Claire's face or whatever. So I'm like, oh, this episode done really gained popularity. But my favorite episode would have to be, man, I don't know, because Gordon Gartrell is funny to me.
God. Gordon Gartrell.
Yeah, I can't pick either. The Gordon, yeah. So I like Gordon Gartrell. I like the dream sequence episodes with Cliff. I like
that was a big one.
A lot of my favorite episodes revolve around Theo. That's the one that the first episode is arguably the best episode, the pilot. That's the best pilot I've ever seen for a first episode, where it's like that's no wonder you get D's and stuff like that. I'm like, that whole vibe was like, it made you want to watch every other episode after that.
Yeah. I remember like Theo getting the earring. Theo, he had to get money to buy the apartment, and he had to go and rent the apartment. And
see, I can't pick a
track episode when he was making fun. And he was in court.
Yep.
Like,
so that's why I said
I just can't.
A lot of my favorite episodes revolve around Theo, but he low-key got the best episodes. Like they taught him the most, like the best. Well, not that. Like whenever you're raising a daughter, I think Women's Day.
I think it was between Theo and Vanessa.
Yeah,
because
Theo and Vanessa.
Because Vanessa did a lot of stuff. Vanessa, the Wretched, getting drunk.
Vanessa was the worst child. Vanessa's the worst. Like, she's the most misbehaved child. People be thinking it's Theo. I'm like, Vanessa did way more stuff than Theo. Like she got into
the fight.
Yep. For them calling her bougie.
Yeah.
But the best actors from the kid cast were always Theo, Vanessa, and Rudy. Like the bottom three were the best actors and actresses.
Man, speaking of Rudy, man, the whole anniversary episode.
Yep.
The nighttime.
Two of them. Man, yeah, like, nighttime. And even I got the feeling. I got the feeling go hard too.
Like
It's
Ray Charles, it's so many iconic episodes that I just like Mark. I just can't pick because you got waves of them. Like I could think about the one when they all went to prom. And he rented the helicopter. He got threw up inside.
The
hair is messed up.
I could think of the peanut butter. When he broke up with what was his girlfriend's name? Theo's girlfriend's name, which is Myra.
Justine.
Oh,
Justine.
Yeah, but then the peanut butter where he was like, I promise to listen, and he gets it. Yeah, like a lot of iconic episodes, and even with Denise. You bringing in the Olivia mix to show you what a blended family looks like. Yeah. Sandra and Elvin. Somebody just texted me because they never saw the show. And I told them, you probably need to watch that show. And then they start watching and they, bro, to their credit, they from the islands. So I'm
okay.
Yeah. But they were asking me why. So they started watching episodes. They're like, why is Elvin so sexist? And I'm like, just watch. Like, it shows you his progression. Like, he doesn't end up that way. Like, he actually becomes a sensitive person. So that show taught a lot of people how to think. Off rip, like I said, I have Whitley and Dwayne are my favorite couple because they're probably more relatable. For me, Cliff and Claire are like mom and dad to me. But Claire is probably the most beautiful woman I've seen on sitcom TV. But yeah, just lines for days. Like me and my wife just had a conversation. Like, if you die, when am I able to start dating? And she reacted just like Claire, like ready to get me in the handcuff. I'm just like, look, you dead. Like, you need to relax. So
like, it was no right answer on that question.
Yeah, no, but this,
even
the music education. So I'll give you this. Family Matters had more cameos. This show educated me about music, right? Because
it's a lot of people that you probably don't know who are cameos.
Every time I watch an episode, so this is what I do as I got older. anytime I watch an episode, I'm reading IMDb trivia while I'm watching the episode. So I understand the cameos and everything like that, but most of the time they will educate you on certain people. Sometimes they weren't on the episode. So it's still a lot of education going on, or songs being.
I mean, BB King was on there. Dizzy Gillespie was on there. Nancy Wilson was on there. I could keep going.
When you match, but with Family Matters, though,
you may have to think about, okay, but I'm a jazz person.
Yeah.
So I know the jazz people he brought on.
Yeah.
In comparison to like the R&B.
Dizzy Gillespie.
That's what I'm saying. Like we're on.
The only reason I know about these people is because of my first introduction to them was Cosby Show. Like sometimes me and you talk about music and you give me way more credit because I'm like, I said, no, like, bro, I only know about them because I watch Cosby Show.
No matter, you still know it. Even Claire's dad.
Yeah.
Claire's dad was a jazz vocalist with the Count Basie's band.
I didn't know that until I recently watched it. I just watched this last summer, and then when I was reading the IMDb, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he was he was the Count Basie's band vocalist.
I think they said
years.
The funny thing is they wanted him to be Cliff's dad at first.
Really?
Yeah. So they so when you read the IMDb trivia, they said they wanted him to be Cliff's dad. But then I don't know if it was something up with his schedule or something. But then when they got a chance to, we need to put Claire Parents, let's bring in him because I already wanted him on the show anyway. So I appreciate Bill Cosby for just educating the audience. And not just him, his writers team, they were all about, they had a diverse writing staff to where it was old and young people. So they was like, nah, you need to put them on hip hop, like conscious rap, like put this rapper in or put this person in or whatever. And then just awesome, man. Just
Cockroach, awesome. Great homeboy.
Yep. Cockroach I would have liked to see Cockroach stay, but he had a beef. The last time we see him is the Dance Mania episode.
Yep.
And Cliff wasn't having it. He told him not to perm his hair. So he did it. And then it looks like like how the hair looks when it just got permed. So he got into an argument. He said, my hair not permed. I took it out already. He said, nah, it's already slicked back. No. And I think that's the reason why he made Sammy Davis Jr. wear a hat. Because I think he tried to show people like, no, we're not doing that. We're not putting chemicals in our hair. Like, I don't want to show that on TV. So he made Sammy Davis wear a hat. I don't know if that's a fact, but for the majority of that episode, Sammy Davis Jr. is wearing a hat. For Cockroach's episode, Cockroach wore a hat, but then he took it off at one point and his hair was processed. And after that, Cliff wrote him off.
That's crazy.
But I don't know if Cockroach doesn't get off that show, I don't know.
We get Cole
Brown, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with I got fed Cole Brown because Cockroach didn't.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of young actresses and actors. Like Pam was on an episode. She was basically Justine's homegirl when Theo messed up and kissed the girl. Kadeem Hardison he was on the Gordon Gartrell episode.
Alicia Keys.
To this day, I watch it and I still don't believe it because it just looks so different because you know what she would become. Alicia Keys is on the episode where he bouncing the kids on his lap.
It's for days. We can go on for days, but
what's dude name? R.I.P. But I almost said Santonio Moss, but that ain't it. But dude that played on Steve Harvey is Romeo Stanley.
Santana. Santana something.
Yeah. So he Stanley that made Rudy's character. But when you look, there's not. I always tell people like, no, the writers were so great on this show. You don't have a weak character. It's like Bud and Rudy, you're gonna enjoy those scenes. Theo and Cockroach, you're gonna enjoy it. Vanessa and everything she got going on, you're gonna enjoy it.
Even her friends.
Even Denise, I was enjoying her episodes. And Sandra, it's like there's no weak moments at all, no matter who the episode focuses on. So to me, this is number one because Martin and Cosby Show are the only two shows I could think of where there's no such thing as a bad episode to me. That's just me. I like every episode. if it's on TV, I'll watch it, and I'm never gonna be like, I don't really like this episode. Can it hurry up? I love every episode of every season.
Yeah, I mean it's great, man. But that's our rundown. 10 through 1 Cosby Show. We got as number 1. Hey, in the comment section, list what you feel. I know we have some honorable mentions that we can kind of briefly hit on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For me, you got Moesha, who Moesha then stemmed from Moesha was a Parker's. So that was pretty cool. Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac.
And some of the ones that I would put as honorable mentions, you put on there, like Sanford and Son, What's Happening. I'm thinking certain shows, I don't feel like they'll make my top 10, but they were like
no.
Yeah, they were great shows I grew up with. I grew up with A-Man. I grew up with like you said, the Moeshas. I grew up with Parenthood is another one. Like I said,
Parenthood.
I love that show never got a fair handshake.
227 for me.
227 In the House. I'm just thinking some of these shows, if you put them on a different network, they would have been huge.
In the House. Wayans Brothers.
Sister, Smart
Go
Guy.
home, Raj.
Yeah. Go home, Roger.
Roger.
For me, because I was close to his age, I loved Smart Guy. Man, your brother is smart. So I was the same age as Taj.
Smart Guy. What was the other one?
My Brother and Me?
Smart Guy. My Brother Me. What's that one? Ralphie?
Yeah. Is that what you was thinking of?
Yeah, that's the
one. Your girl from Insecure is on that show too. Amanda Seales is on that show.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Alfie.
No, that show, to be honest, that show, everybody remembers it, but it only has like 5 episodes, Bill. Like that's to me it's not a lot, bro. It's the Kendall Gill episode and like 3 more, and then it's a wrap. But I always say that show is like, why is this show so popular when it only has like less than a season worth of content?
I don't know,
and then the dude from the Martin episode, the Christmas episode where Waterhead, like he's on that episode as well.
Yeah.
Remember
Yep.
He's on that show. Yeah. So
I remember even it's a show Lamont was on called Baby I'm Back. Actually, I've been watching some of the episodes on YouTube.
Wow. Yeah. So if you start getting into that mix, you start bringing in your shows that probably were canceled too early, like your Thea's, Out All Night.
Thea's.
Yeah.
Ooh, Out All Night. Yes.
Yeah. Stuff like that, to where it's not a lot of content out there for them because they only had less than a season, but quality stuff like South Central, The Rock,
Rock. Yep.
I'm trying to think of some other ones. Yeah, like
it wasn't. It's not necessarily black all the way, but I used to love watching Give Me a Break, like because the lead was Nell Carter,
and she was the principal from Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I just rewatched Hanging with Mr. Cooper with my family or whatever. So I feel like with those shows, man, it's like it honestly makes me respect my top 10 again more, because at the time these shows were coming out, they weren't supposed to be as successful as they were. And these shows, like I grew up on these shows, like
grew up.
Theme songs for days.
Theme songs, that's classics. Those are my top 10, Barry. If you have anything else, man, like I know for our watchers and listeners, below.
Yeah, like let us know what you think. Like obviously, put your 2 cents in. Let us know stuff that you grew up on. Let us know your top 10. Rearrange the order. Like, I mean, because I know like these are me and Bill match each other perfectly with the top 3, but it may not be the case for you guys. Yep. So and then also it's like it's nice to hear some of the shows I haven't heard in a while. So let us know shows that you grew up on, and we're anxious to hear that. Outside of that, Bill, I mean, that's all that I got.
That's all I got.
All right, peace, guys.
All right, see you later.